What are the most common challenges that entrepreneurs and business owners face, and how do you help them overcome those challenges?
As I mentioned earlier, that there is some common ground in those challenges as to what businesses run into. And it's interesting how it manifests itself, because it doesn't seem like it's common. So some businesses that I'll work with are saying that we need to grow. Well, growth comes in a lot of different ways. And growth can come through sales, growth can come through economic or environmental geographic expansion. Growth can come through mergers and acquisitions. Growth can come through a lot of different things. So that's one aspect. Somebody else says, we need to have more effectiveness out of our people and our teams and what's going on there, and so that the business can produce more and be better. And that's a challenge that they run into. And then you get companies that run into the situation of transition, where maybe it's a family legacy-owned business, maybe it's one somebody built from the ground up, and it's time for them to retire. But it's time to figure out, what do we do with this now that we've got it and built it? Well, while all three of those seem like very separate and distinct challenges for businesses, the common denominator amongst all of them is a function of change. And all of us change every day, no matter what. We come into work every day, something happens, we have to change what we thought we were going to do. And we do it in small increments every day in all kinds of situations. What throws a loop is when you have a big change, when you're trying to achieve something that's just not a small incremental adjustment. And then we become fearful. And we all do this, and not all of us want to admit that, but we all tend to step back from that. It's uncomfortable. And so, even though it might be growth, even though it might be operational performance, even though it might be transitional issues, it's all about business owners getting comfortable with, how do I enact and engage with this change? And that's the biggest challenge business owners face. If they don't address the issue of change and understand how they're going to address that, then they aren't going to be effective as they try and implement. And so what we try and do is really help them with that. And that's help them see what are the steps necessary to take and go through that. Dan Gleicher had a formula out there, and it's not commonly known, but it's sometimes taught in business schools and such. But Gleicher's formula said it is not truly mathematical. It's written mathematically, but it's D times V times Fs has to be greater than R, and I'll explain this. So D is dissatisfaction, and V is vision. Fs is first steps. So the dissatisfaction of the current state of affairs has got to be there and well defined. A vision for what a business owner wants to be different has to be clear and well defined. And the first steps of what they need to do to get that change enacted has to be well defined. If those three components of the formula are well set out and clear, they can be delivered to staff, they can be delivered to the customer base, or whatever the impact is, and they will overcome the resistance to that change, and the change will be more effective. So what we help them do is figure those three components out well, and then execute on those three components.